Greetings, I'm Rob Chapman.
And I'm the Captain.
Ooh, we've got some beautiful Richie Kotzen amplifiers here today.
It is a somewhat self-indulgent video review, possibly even a revisit, because our dear friends Pete and Joss did a little bit of a review of this a couple of months ago. But Rob, being such a fan of the Kotzen...
I am. Can I tell you how much of a fan of the Kotzen?
How much of a fan of the Kotzen are you?
I'm hoping that Richie watches this.
He may do. He may do.
Hey Richie, I've seen you live a number of times. Best live singer I've ever seen in my life.
Praise indeed.
I would raise Richie Kotzen above...
What, Whitney Houston?
Never seen Whitney Houston, but I have seen many other divas who are spectacular vocalists. But I'm telling you now...
Yes. I totally agree. I totally agree in that I think as someone who got into Richie Kotzen because of his fame as a guitar player, you know, you saw the signature stuff he's got and he's always talked about in magazines. When you hear him sing for the first time, you go, huh.
You go, holy Kotzen.
Yeah.
This guy's a musician.
This dude can sing.
So I had the Hot Licks video. Oh, I wish this was a Richie Kotzen game. Do you remember that?
No.
He's like playing a pinball game and he goes into it and then starts teaching it. It was awesome. And it was all the modal stuff, and that's where I learned most of my 3-note per string modal scales and things. And actually through Richie Kotzen I found Marty Friedman from the Hot Licks stuff with his exotic scales. But so I knew Richie was in Mr. Big, and then I discovered that Richie did his own stuff, and I heard a song, You Can't
Hurry
Fix
Love?
Me. No.
By Phil Collins. I never knew Richie Kotzen wrote that song. You learn something every day in these video shoots. Sorry.
I was blown away. Now, obviously, Richie is a ridiculous guitar player, and the other thing I love about his guitar playing is that, as well as being insane shred guy above the likes that I would ever reach in a million years, he does that quite a lot. Just goes, well, I just use that, and now I'll play some really incredible soulful music, or even still shred
Plays piano.
if I'd like to.
Last couple of times I've seen him on YouTube live set stuff,
yeah,
I would say there's like 2 or 3 songs per gig where he just sits down and plays piano.
And he can levitate.
Can he?
Probably.
Unbelievable. He's a great cook. Phenomenal lover. Basically, he's just an all-round good guy.
I love Richie Kotzen. I would love to meet Richie Kotzen.
You never know. You never know.
I'm a big fan of his tone. Now, a lot of people talk about guitar tones and they say...
There's such a Rory opportunity there to put a hiya!
I'm a big fan of Richie's tone. A lot of people talk about guitar tone. They talk about people like Billy Gibbons, Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page, Stevie Ray Vaughan,
Dave Gilmour,
for me, Peter Green. But I think Richie Kotzen is one of those unsung...
Don't forget.
unsung tone heroes. He's always had great tone. Telecasters and cracked up valve amps. And what I like is the diversity of tone that he gets, from soft plucking with fingers, all his chicken pick techniques, through to the use of a flat pick. And I think it's because he is essentially a songwriting vocalist that also plays to an incredibly high standard. And I think it's the musicality in him that allows him to have that dynamic reach on the guitar. Might be a little bit deep for a
It was a bit deep.
But that's what I think about Richie Kotzen.
If I literally had a little red book here and my name was Eamon Andrews, and you could play the music to This Is Your Life, I'd literally be going, "And here, Richie Kotzen, this is your life."
Richie
and
Kotzen,
he'd literally walk in and we would celebrate it.
He is in my top 8 guitar players of all time.
Top 8? There's a weird number. So
Not
is that
really.
Because he's
8's an important number to me.
Well, it's particularly if you're influenced by the magic of the Far East.
My son, yes, my son was born on the 8th.
Right.
Chapman Guitars has an 8 looking insignia on the... It's an important number. Basically, I love you, Richie Kotzen. And I'm sorry that we're not using your signature Telecaster to play this demonstration.
Well, we intentionally did that because that was the guitar used in the previous video.
Yes, they'd used it already. So I figured, you know what, a high-end T-type from Friedman would certainly cut the mustard. If there was any mustard in this room, it's been cleft in twain right now.
We'd be cutting it, wouldn't we?
Yes.
Literally.
I'd like to apologise for the fact that I absolutely unashamedly shredded for the entire of the jam. I loved every second, and I'm not really sorry myself.
So,
Yeah, taking us on.
if you don't know, if you're not familiar with Richie's sort of ampology, his history, is that a word, ampology?
It is now.
Anyway, he many moons ago asked Martin Kidd of at the time Cornford amps, but now of Victory amps, to design him a signature amplifier called the RK100. It's a great sounding
One
amplifier.
of the best amps made of all time.
Absolutely. You see them every so often secondhand. You've got guitar players like Mark Tremonti has certainly recorded with them in the past. It's a great sounding guitar amplifier. And anywho, obviously with the demise of Cornford, he went back to using Marshalls, I think. You just used to see him 50-watt Marshall, stuff like that. And I remember reading ages ago a Richie Kotzen interview where he was sort of going, I might do another signature amplifier, but I think all I literally want on it is like gain, tone and volume, almost like a super stripped down version. And then we found out earlier this year that he'd been back in touch with Martin Kidd again. Martin's obviously the chief designer for Victory, and begun to make come up with some designs for this idea of an amp with just gain, tone and volume on it. And at the end of the summer in 2017, the RK50 was announced, and I see Richie has been using this amplifier pretty much on all his gigs from sort of middle of the summer and onwards. And it is, it's to be honest with you, it's probably not what you might expect of him to. You know, it is a combo. It's a 1x12 combo is what he uses. So this is what we've got here with an extension cabinet underneath. And if you see Richie live, you'll generally see 4 of these. So he'll have 2 combos and 2 cabs. It's a 50-watt EL34 powered, pretty simple amplifier. Bit of a left field one. I can't, again, you're more of the Richie Kotzen fan than I am, so I'm not immediately familiar with where he would use a tremolo circuit in a lot of the stuff.
Well, a lot of his old sort of bluesy, he does a lot of soul.
Yeah.
Like, forget the shred, like in previous Richie Kotzen solo stuff, you know, way before Winery Dogs, which is insane.
Yeah.
Go and check out Winery Dogs if you haven't. He's done some like classic like love ballads and some soul stuff, and he'd be using tremolo as a writing tool in a lot of that.
Cool. So your basic tone stack in this is effectively just a gain, tone, and a volume control. Then there is a spring reverb in here and a tremolo circuit, so with a rate and a rate and a depth kind of control. It's got a high power mode and a low power mode. I'm reliably informed that Richie uses these in low power, apparently. That's his tone of, because that's, again, high power and low power on amps like this isn't really about one being loud and one being quiet. It's to do with how the power amp reacts.
Well, and also touring on sort of 1,000 cap venues, you know, and above, but roughly kind of, you know, 1.5, 2,000 cap venues. If you drive an amp too loud on the stage as a singer, even with in-ears, it starts to annoy you having lots of loud stuff on stage. Cymbals, bane of my existence, thanks Ben. You know, in that frequency zone, you want to be hearing your own head. So as a singer-player, he probably wants it a bit quieter, but to have that cranked up sound and have that fed into his ears.
There's a boost circuit built in, which we can ably demo in a memento. We have it's a terrible piece of branding here, but we've decided to use, well, not decided, but we've obviously only got a dual foot switch from another guitar brand here, but it works just fine. It's just a dual latching foot switch. This turns the vibrato and the reverb on and off, and then the single foot switch turns the boost on and off. So we can actually demo it all now if you want to. So let's
neck
go
pickup
to...
I'll back off a bit of the tone, back off a bit of the volley. And
let's just put the tremolo depth and speed up a little bit so it's a bit more obvious. I'm not using any pedals, by the way.
If I now bring the volume in.
Classic Winery Dogs tune there, Living by the Seaside it's called. Right, let's do the tremolo circuit in here.
Okay, so again, neck pickup, I'll back it off a bit.
Show the big Haunting Reverb. So the reverb's on about number 3 or 4 out of 10 at the moment. So here's it on, say, like 3/4.
Should we turn the tremolo off?
Sure. And lastly, the gain boost, which, if I remember rightly, just kicks in another half a tube stage, basically, of
so
gain.
We go...
So it's just, you know, it's a little bit of extra mustard, as we're talking about mustard, a little bit of extra mustard on the sandwich. So that's that.
Should we try it through a pool?
Sure.
Do you want to play it?
Sure.
Come on, Lee.
We'll come to the little amp that's just behind us here, which is what I was using during the jam, in a second. But so here we go, in a sort of a, as Rob was doing, maybe with the volume on kind of half. It's got a little bit of everything, hasn't it?
Do you want to give it all?
Actually, can I have the tremolo just for a second?
Yeah.
And I may just have a little bit more depth there.
Do you like...
Cool, isn't it? And then put with the boost on. Woof!
That's a great rhythm and lead sound.
Yeah, it's just a big sound. And again, no pedals. It's not off. More often than not, when Rob and I are doing amp demos, we're using pedals as well, just to kind of, add, but this kind of doesn't feel like it really needs it. So
it's got that chewy, chunky, almost, forgive me, extreme porno graffiti rhythm type tone.
Yeah,
it's really pleasant to hear.
So it's a Celestian creamback here. I think it's the medium magnet one. I think, and of course the extension cabinet underneath is the same again, just another. And you're hearing quite a bit of both.
But if you were touring you won't need that even unless you really need it. I mean, that's going to cut.
Yeah, I think it's. I kind of like it, to be honest with you. I think not just in terms of the sound it adds. I rather like visually the idea of the two stacked on top of each other. It gets this one up a bit taller, so if you're standing in front of it, it's it is useful.
Effects loop.
Yes, effects loop.
Yeah. And how much is this combo?
$16.49. So it's boutiquey kind of money, but it's hand built in the UK. All valve.
True bypass.
Now, if that's a little bit rich for your money, hey, Rich, did you like what I did there? It's a little bit rich, Kotzen, for your money. Hey, what has been done, Victory have got a real, long line of these Lunchbox amplifiers that you can kind of just see over my shoulder here.
To be fair, if that was your Lunchbox, you're eating a lot of lunch.
You are. And those are an incredibly affordable way to make amplifiers, much more cost effective than doing wooden sleeves and all that kind of stuff. So that amp basically is identical to the guts of this amplifier, except for it's a digital reverb rather than a spring reverb. And that amp will come in at $9.99. Right. So quite a lot less.
600 quid. 600 quid.
Yeah, quid. That's right. 600 quid left. And to be honest with you, with the exchange rates as they are at the moment, your quids aren't going so far. So
And you could buy a cab for 600 quid.
You could buy a 212 cab for that. So you could have that with a 212 cab for the same price as your 112 combo.
You could move more air for less money.
I guess a lot of people are buying these because they might already have a cab. But look, you're now plugged into that. So do you want to give us some...
You like a dark setup.
I think that's probably just the way you're positioned and the speakers and everything, because that's pretty much the same. There's maybe a smidgen more gain dialed into this than this one, but it's pretty much set up the same without the boost circuit plugged in. So I suspect that the difference there is you're hearing a different speaker cabinet and it's further away from you.
Could we smack in the boost?
For sure.
Or could we make it just a little bit brighter?
I can do all those things.
Oh, yeah. That is such a good sound.
jam out. Jam out.
Hey.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching the Andertons Guitar YouTube channel. If you're a drummer or a keyboard player or interested in music technology, you might find one of our other channels interesting, and I'll put details of those in the description below. If you want to find out more about the products we've just featured, please click here. If you'd like to buy a t-shirt like this, please click here. If you want to watch another video on our guitar channel, click down here. And to subscribe to our guitar channel, click here. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.